Jnanatimanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaknu Unnalitamin Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So today we'll go, this is going to be very heavy, very dense class, very deep. I'm going to incorporate some of the Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 11, canto 11, chapter 25, to incorporate this chapter 14 to hopefully help the point stick a little better and allow us to be able to perceive these different modes much easier and how we're affected by them. So we'll start with text number 1 in the verse. MK, do you mind reading text number 1?
Yeah. 5, 6, 7. Next one.
Before you do that, sorry. So let's do this. Let's try to think of a few points that that we can recall that quantify or at least give us some idea of the quality of the modes of the 3 modes. So we did this a little bit last week. So what's one of the qualities of the mode of goodness? A quality.
Before we proceed, does everybody need the fan right now?
I think it's good. You can turn it off.
You guys okay? Same about.
Yeah. Okay.
She's right. It was hard to hear you with that on.
Yes. Okay. So yes. So what we're going to do before we start the first text is recall some of the identifying qualities of some of the modes as we so far understand it. So who wants to start with the mode and the quality?
Rajas, ignorance, laziness.
Yes.
Good job, Max.
Raja, greed.
Yes. Raja, yes. You said Tom. Did you say Rajas?
I said Rajas.
Rajas. Rajas is will be more greed, ignorance, and we'll use laziness. That would be ignorance. That would be tamas. That would be tamas. Yeah.
My bad.
It's all right. That's why we're here.
Thomas is either called the mode of ignorance or the mode of darkness.
Yeah.
Either one.
What's another quality of tamas?
Did you already say laziness? Is that what you just said?
Lust.
Sloth.
That's passion. Freeze. Yes. To like inertia, like to not do anything.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Addiction.
Yes. Or intoxication would be one. What about another one in passion? What's something in passion? What's a quality?
Anger.
Anger, yes.
Lust.
Yes.
Frustration.
Yes.
Did we say envy?
Yes.
So more of action will be a Raja. More of action.
Right.
Does it require any sort of action?
Like to,
Raja.
yeah, yes. What about goodness? What are some qualities?
Truthfulness.
Selfishness, Truthfulness.
Satya.
service, devotion,
Simplicity.
simplicity, yes. So we have some understanding, so we're going to go even deeper today. So this, actually before we start with text 1, I want to read something very enlightening from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we know, we've heard that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study to the Gita. So I'll read just a summary from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the main focus of chapter 25 in the 11th canto, is to give even deeper understanding. Can somebody pull the box out? Trivia Crown, can you pull the box out? Thank you. Okay. After I read this, we'll go to text 1, and then we'll continue. Okay. Okay. So chapter 25, this is the, I guess, preface before the chapter. And it says, to establish the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this chapter describes the various functional manifestations of the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, which arise in the mind. Control of the mind, control of the senses, tolerance, and so forth are manifestations of unmixed modes of goodness. Desire, endeavor, false pride, and so on are manifestations of the unmixed mode of passion. And anger, greed, and bewilderment are among the functions of the unmixed modes of ignorance.
They say greed?
Greed, yes.
And ignorance. You're right.
So in the admixture of the three modes of nature, we find the conception of I and my behavior in accordance with this mentality by the body, mind, words, and adherence to principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and the fixed pursuit of one's occupational duty of material interest. A person who is in the mode of goodness worships Lord Hari in the spirit of devotion without regard of profit. On the other hand, one who hankers after the fruits of their worship for the Lord is passionate in the mode of passion. And
read that last part again.
yes, one on the other hand who hankers after the fruits of their worship, meaning they want something, they worship with the intent of having something.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Yes. One who worships the Lord is passionate by nature, and one who desires violence is in the mode, who worships and desires violence is in the mode of ignorance. These modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are present in the infinitesimal living entity, whereas in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to these modes of material nature. The substance, the place, the result of activity, along with the time and the underlying action and activity itself, the performer, and their faith and level of awareness, their spiritual progress, and destination after death all partake of the three modes and manifest variously in the terms of distinctions and hierarchies. But the object related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, places connected with him, happiness based on him, the time occupied in that worship of him, knowledge related to him, work offered to him, the performer of work who acts under his shelter, faith in his devotional service, progress towards the spiritual realm, and the destination of the Supreme Lord's personal abode all transcend these modes of nature. There are many different destinations and conditions of life for the spirit soul within the cycle of material existence. These are all based on the modes of nature and on fruitive activities or karma, which are governed by the modes. It is only by practicing yoga of pure devotional service to the Supreme that one can conquer the three modes of nature, which arise originally from the mind. After obtaining a human body, which has the potential for developing knowledge and realization, a person who is intelligent should renounce association with the three modes of material nature and worship the Supreme Lord. First, by increasing the mode of goodness, one can defeat passion and ignorance. Then one can conquer the material goodness by evolving their consciousness to the platform of transcendence. At that time, they become entirely liberated from the material modes. They give up the subtle body, which is made up of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, and attains the association of the personality of Godhead. By shattering their subtle covering, the living entity is able to come face to face to the Supreme Lord and thus achieve fulfillment by His grace. So this section is just summary of that chapter, and it gets even deeper in the remaining verses of chapter 25. I wanted just to read that so we can gain a little bit more insight, a little bit more understanding, because these modes of nature are around us. They're in us. This is how we think, how we perceive our reality around us. So it's important to know beyond a shadow of a doubt what these modes are, how we interact with them, because they're always competing for a space in our consciousness. So let's start now with text number 1. Max, if you don't mind reading text number 1.
14:1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again, I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection."
2. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution.
Text 3. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, which is that Brahman that I am pregnant, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of God.
Text 4. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father.
14.5. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjun, he becomes conditioned by these modes.
6. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminated, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge.
Text 7. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions.
8. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is a delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which binds a conditioned soul.
O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruitive action. And ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness.
Text 10. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there's always competition for supremacy.
11. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge.
12. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop.
When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and delusion are manifested.
Sorry. 14. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets.
15. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities, and when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom.
16. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness, but action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness.
17. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance develop foolishness, madness, and illusion.
So we'll start with we'll do the Sanskrit on text number 18, and then we'll go into the translation. Urvam gachanti satvasta madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa urvam gachanti satvasta madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa urvam gachanti satvasta madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa urvam gachanti satvasta madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista gachanti tamasa urvam gachanti satvasta madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa. Anybody else want to try it?
Urvam gachanti satvasta.
Urvam gachanti satvasta
Madhye tistanti rajasa.
madhye tistanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista ado gachanti tamasa.
Urvam gachanti satvasta.
Urvam gachanti satvasta
Madhye tistanti rajasa.
madhye tistanti rajasa
Jaganya guna vrittista. Ado gachanti tamasa.
ado gachanti tamasa. Brittany, do you mind doing it word for word? Urdvam, upwards. Gachanti, go. Satvasta,
Those situated in the mode of goodness.
those situated in the mode of goodness. Madhye,
In the middle.
in the middle.
Tistanti,
Tistanti,
dwell.
dwell.
Rajasa,
Rajasa,
those situated in the mode of passion.
those situated in the mode of passion.
Jaganya,
Jaganya,
of abominable.
of abominable.
Guna,
Guna,
quality.
quality.
Vritasha,
Vrittista,
whose occupation.
whose occupation.
Ada,
Ada,
down.
down.
Gajanti,
Gajanti,
go.
go.
Tamasa,
Tamasa,
persons in the mode of ignorance.
who's in the mode of ignorance. Translation.
Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Purport. In this verse, the results of action in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of the heavenly planets, which everyone is highly elevated.
According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in this system. The highest planet is Satyolka, or Ramolka, where the prime persons of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides.
We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka, but the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode of passion is mixed.
It is in the middle between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man.
But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth in the modes of passion or ignorance cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine.
In the mode of passion, there is also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. The lower quality, the mode of ignorance, is described here as abominable.
The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It's the lowest quality in material nature.
Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life, birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasa is very significant here.
Tamasa indicates those who stay continuously in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark.
There is an opportunity for man in the mode of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness.
The one who does not take advantage of this opportunity will certainly continue in the lower modes.
So there's additional commentary, and then we'll really deep dive into this. So this is from this commentary is from the book Surrender Unto Me by Burjan Das. And he says, his commentary says 2 verbs are used in this verse to tell of the destinations of those who act in the modes of nature. Gachanti means to go, is used twice to describe the destinations of those in goodness and those in ignorance. Tishtanti means stay. It indicates that those in passion stay on the earthly realm, in their next life. Varieties of activity and other factors, as Krishna explains to Uddhava in the 11th canto, which is what we're reading, affect how we are influenced by the modes of nature, agama, which scriptures we hear, apa, the water we drink and the type of foods we eat, praja, our association, desha, where we live, kala, the time of day, karma, our activities, janma, our conditioning from birth, danya, our thoughts, mantras, what we chant, and samskars and varnashrams, the ceremonies we undergo in life, which begin with impregnation and end with burial. Having described the all-pervasive control of the modes of nature, Krishna tells us in the next and final section of this chapter how to transcend the modes and explains his position in relationship to these modes. So sometimes in common spiritual thought, the idea that there's no hell is not, this concept does not resonate in the Vedas, because if there are higher forms of consciousness, there must be lower. And if there are higher places of happiness in which where there's a lot of beauty, then there must be the opposite. There must be a variety. So to say that, oh, there's no heavenly planet, there's no hellish planet, this means that our thought process is that there's no variety in this world, in this universe. And so since our conception is there's no, or the new age spiritual conception is that since there's no variety, then there must be, and this is just, we make it whatever we want. Now mind you, our consciousness can be of these different varieties. In the 11th canto, And also in the beginning of the chapter, Krishna says the mind is where these modes dwell. This is how these modes manifest. So when we are experiencing a certain reality, it is in the vision of the particular mode in which we're in. That's how we perceive things. Whatever mode we're predominantly in at the time, depending on what we're doing then we're going to see something. We're going to see that thing based on that. So in this particular commentary, there are a few things named, and it was named, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it said, the scriptures we hear, meaning the spiritual texts we hear, will influence us depending on what our desire is of that particular religious affiliation. So you have what you sometimes call prosperity gospel. Prosperity gospel means I pray, I get X, Y, Z. This is what I want. So based off of what our attraction is to, this influences how we take to spiritual life, how we take to our relationships, and even in the 11th canto, it was saying like if our goal in spirituality is to really learn what is God, how can I develop or how can I manifest that loving propensity in me that's already there and direct it? That is religiosity in the mode of goodness. So that is mentioned. What we put in our bodies are of different modes. We talked about if we're putting things in our body which reduce the duration of our body, meaning if we're taking intoxicants that are destroying our brains, our lungs, or all these other things, then we have to be mindful of what mode of nature is this particular activity in, because we can eat in the mode of goodness, but we can speak in the mode of ignorance. So sometimes we come to a spiritual group and we think, oh yes, everybody's happy, everybody is, wonderful. But in that situation, what happens when they're outside of the spiritual group, or when that spiritual subject matter stops, is the first thing that talked about is, man, I got to make some money, or this X, Y, Z. Like, what is our thoughts afterwards? Like when you're in church or you're in the temple, or you're in the mosque. Yes, it's nice to be in that mindset then, but when that discussion is no longer there, what is your focus after that? What is your thought process? How long do you stay in that? So these types of things are important to understand. And then it mentions our praja, our association. We talked about this some weeks ago. Our association makes a heavy impression on how we see reality around us, how we see ourselves. And that association could be of goodness, passion, ignorance, or mixture. Goodness most of the time, but sometimes we want to hear some drama. We want some type of, you hear what she did with him, or he did with her, or he did with him, all these other things. Yeah, we want the tea. We want the tea. And this is where the mind goes, because it's very difficult to keep the mode of goodness, especially as the predominant thought process. Because
I'm reminded of the reels we sent to each other. Some of them goodness.
Yeah.
Some outlandish.
Some mode of ignorance. Yes. So so our association has a huge impact. And then next is described desha, where we live. Do we live live in, and this could even be in our home, is our home is such an environment that we feel uplifted, motivated, we feel enthused, or do we feel like, man, I don't like it here. I gotta get something better than this. I gotta, there's always something needs to be done. Or is it so disgusting? You haven't cleaned in a long time, or there's mold or whatever. All these things. Because where we live doesn't mean our geographical location. We live in Oklahoma. It doesn't mean just that, but where we situate ourselves, how we're situated. And kala, time. What are we doing with our time? What mode of nature, and what modes are we predominantly in throughout the day? Are we utilizing our time properly? Karma, our activities. And janma. Does anybody remember what the word janma means? Our birth. So,
Dhamma.
janma.
Janma, I'm sorry.
Janma. Yeah. Yeah. So from birth, we have some conditioning. Our parents or our guardians may have been conditioned in some way, and that conditioning is somehow spread to us. And therefore, we may think of in a certain mode. We may not know what mode of nature that is, but our birth has a huge impact. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is saying, whatever our predominant mode of nature in which we operate in, we will get the corresponding result.
I think it's important to note in this regard that the Supreme Lord does not send anyone to hell. He does not send anyone to heaven either. As long as we're in this material world, our destination is determined by our own actions, by our own, whichever mode of material nature I can't think of the word, whatever mode of nature we feed, whatever, we give our time and our attention to, that is going to carry us to our next destination. But the Supreme Lord is not a jealous person. He doesn't need any type of 12-step program. He's not going to, if you don't love him the way you're supposed to, he's not going to send you to hell to be tortured forever. That's not the nature of God. While we're in this material world, our destination is determined by ourselves. We're the ones who decide where we're going next. And now we can, with the knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita, we can understand why that is. Because whatever we cultivate, that's the word I was looking for, whatever we cultivate in this life is going to take us to the next. So I think that's an important understanding to have.
Thank you. Confirmed. I think in regards to that, it's also important to know these modes are very neutral. Like you can, neutral in the sense of we are not, how can I, let me come back to that point. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining that we have this opportunity to experience these different modes of nature. Because in this universe, these modes are present, and our mind is what helps us experience these modes. So in this, so for example, we are here in this place, listening, but where's our thoughts? Our thoughts, I have to have this bill to pay tomorrow, or I have, my relationship is not the greatest. Or are we immersed in this understanding or in this thought? Or there's so many things that we can be doing right now. But the fact that you're here makes a huge difference. But what makes an even bigger difference is how focused are we? Because to be focused isn't a mode of goodness. To be kind of spacey, mode of passion. And to be completely kind of not even here, it's mode of ignorance. So these qualities, these gunas, are everywhere. Everywhere. And to the degree that we can perceive them, it's much easier to see what you're working against than not see it at all. So Krishna's trying to help Arjuna see. He's giving him the transcendental vision so he can be aware. What kind of association are you keeping, Arjuna? What kind of thoughts are you having, Arjuna? Where are you deciding to place yourself, Arjuna? All these things. Because if we are going to really have any chance in this material world, we have to understand, what are we competing with? You can't fight what you can't see. So Krishna's giving Arjuna the vision. He's giving him this ability to perceive things as they are. So Krishna's saying that if you spend your predominant efforts in life in the mode of goodness, you are going to spend an immense amount of time in realms in which you can't even fathom the pleasure. You can't even fathom the lifespan that you'll experience. And if you spend most of your predominant thought, your energy in the mode of passion, you'll get another body, maybe a man, maybe a woman. You may be confused about either one. But you'll spend this time in this universe trying to figure out, how am I going to enjoy? How am I going to extract the most out of it? Has anybody ever had sugarcane juice? Have you all seen how it's made? They put sugarcane in a press and they squeeze it.
It's like on the old washing machines, they put the clothes and they crank between two rollers. That's how they make sugarcane juice.
They try to extract all the juice out of the sugarcane, and they discard it when it's gone. So this is what we're doing right now. We're trying to extract as much as we can out of this material nature. And whenever this object that we were extracting is no longer of service to us, we get rid of it. This is how we function. And in the mode of ignorance, all we leave behind is a trail of destruction. A trail of destruction. So Krishna is saying, if you leave a trail of destruction, you are of no value to yourself or society, and you're doing things which are devastating to society, then you will get a body in which will be not ideal. And if you continue, or if you go even further into that mode of ignorance, then you go to planets or areas of the universe where you spend a large amount of time burning off vikarma or negative energy in some type of reformative planet. And that reformative planet, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, 5th volume, in I think the last chapter, it goes in extreme detail. Hundreds of thousands of hellish planets in which the type of purification of consciousness is there, because jail is supposed to be for reform. Of course, jail on this planet is just for money, for profit, with no actual intent for that prisoner to really learn or to exhaust their, negative whatever. But the universe has a very beautiful arrangement how people can exhaust their whatever type of credit they accumulate. So if you accumulate good credit, heavenly planets. Mediocre credit, material realms, where there's thousands of earthly-like planets. And then hellish world, where there's hundreds of thousands of hellish planets. And so there's no environment that is not there to suit our level of consciousness. That's why it's extremely important to know, like, this is why those who have intelligence study the Vedas, because for in-depth knowledge, the Vedas have it. And not just a little bit, but like detail. What is this called? How do you even obtain this? What should you stay away from? These types of things. So Krishna's explaining to Arjuna, these are the different varieties of location in which you could be. So before we go any deeper, thoughts, objections. And it's really important to develop thoughts. I mean, thoughts mean we're thinking. Thoughts mean we're analyzing. A sign of a mode of goodness is that we're intelligently discriminating information.
I find it bizarre that one of the aspects is to do not be attached to fruits of your labor, right? And yet, right now we're finishing on a note, ooh, there's a good planet, there's a middle planet, there's a hell planet. So, from this perspective, you are going back, there is the fruits of your labor. Isn't
Was that
it
a
like
question?
purely,
Oh,
yeah, I
okay,
mean, I just,
sorry.
it's kind of not balancing out to me.
So can I respond to that?
I want to understand the question just a little better, so I.
In my understanding, right, I just wanted to more of a clarification then at this point, to do not be attached, and my understanding is to develop the pure love. Like I'm doing my job, I'm here not because I wanted to get something, right? And yet, to some degree, there's always gonna be something. Yes, I'm here because I want better life for everyone. I want a better earth. I want a better universe. I want a better. And we're finishing up on that same story. There's a better planets. You want to go on a high conscious, middle, or hellish. So you're attaching.
If I understand what you're saying, is this entire chapter is explaining, well, this particular section is explaining the different varieties of existence and where we can go based off of our predominant quality we've developed. So it's important to note that Krishna is explaining this from an analytical level so we can understand, even if we have no understanding of divinity. He's explaining things so we know if we put our energy into a certain basket, the result of this basket gets a certain whatever, right? And this is and he's speaking to particularly those who are intellectual right now. Because they want to know, if I do this, where do I go, right? So from the bhakti standpoint, for a bhakti practitioner, this information is good to know, but it doesn't really pertain to them.
Yes,
It doesn't really pertain to them,
Okay.
right?
So it's based on your audience. It's based on break it down how it's actually work.
Correct.
And we are describing and talking about here in the point of the service where your heart is in there. You're discovering your heart.
Correct. Because and because he's speaking to like the intellectuals right now, he's summarizing all this to in the last, I think, 10 verses of this chapter. He's now going to talk about bhakti, because this has nothing really to do with bhakti right now.
Okay.
Okay.
This makes sense right now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I see. Well, because this is the modes of material nature versus
Yes.
bhakti is spiritual nature. Is that what
Well,
you're saying?
yes, it is called Sudha Sattva. So this is transcendental. This is beyond these modes.
Okay, so what my mind is putting together with what she was asking was that so in the mode of ignorance, we're just oblivious to any of this, right? In the mode of passion, that is more of like a transactional consciousness, where it's like if I do this, I'll get that. So in the mode of passion, if one was, doing good things to, like, that's how you would interpret, I'm doing this good thing so that I can reach higher levels. But that's like the mode of passion.
Attachment exists, yeah.
Passion. Whereas the mode of goodness is more about reciprocity, meaning I'm devoting, or is that spirit? Okay, so my thoughts are, I'm giving my time, my attention in service of, not transactional, but reciprocity.
Right.
Would that still be in the mode of goodness?
Right, because someone who doesn't believe in God can still do.
Give their attention.
Yeah.
Purely.
Exactly. Yeah. If I see something, if I see somebody that needs help, I'm going to pull over. Do you need some water or anything? And they may not even believe that there's a spirit, soul, or any energy that animates the body. They may not even believe any of that stuff. But they may just have this mindset, well, I just want to help.
Right.
That is the mode of goodness.
And they get a good reaction.
And they get a good reaction
Whether
for
they
it.
believe in God or not, as long as you're acting within the modes, you're going to get
Yeah,
the reaction.
you're going to get the results. Even if somebody believes in God, they may still act in the mode of ignorance. Like, oh, so does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think this chapter 14 about the modes illustrates the fact that Krishna consciousness is not a religion. This is actually a spiritual science that if one learns it and applies it, you can directly observe the results. This isn't really a religion that you join, it's more of a perspective you gain on the world we're living in.
a state of awareness that allows you to see things as they are. That's why that's
Hinduism
Hinduism
is not a religion.
is not a religion.
Well, Hinduism, there's so many different beliefs in Hinduism.
It's Sanatana is a dharma. It's like eternal
Yeah.
belief.
Yes.
It's not a religion. We
Right.
named it over the time.
right.
It's not a religion.
Yeah, and this is very. Thank you for
Yeah, that's the point. Sanatana Dharma is kind of the way the universe
There is
functions.
no translation in English of dharma.
Well, now.
yeah. I mean, there's not a like direct translation, but there's like some
Dharma could
yeah.
be like anything, like
Yeah.
for your family,
Yeah.
whatever you are doing, that's your dharma.
Like the
You raise
intrinsic-
your
yeah,
child,
yeah.
Like that's the dharma.
Yeah.
Like could be anything. Like if I'm a teacher, I'm teaching students, that's my dharma.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
thing, and it's just over the time, people like, okay, Hinduism, it's a religion. Now
Right.
people start,
Right.
isn't all
Yeah, yeah,
different things.
Dharma
Yeah.
is the
So-
way the universe functions.
Yeah, yeah. So
And that's not relative. That's for all of us.
so we have
Yeah.
this, and this is why it's important to develop knowledge so we can understand things better. So, but to your point, a person can apply their energy into any of these different modes, regardless of whatever they believe in God or don't believe in God. The reason why this is a science is because you can test it. You can test the what is being said and apply it to your life. try to, or maybe some of us have already been in places in which we are considered mode of ignorance. What are the qualities to develop because of that? Like has anybody ever been to, or at least seen like how stocks are traded, like the stock market?
Like online or on the floor?
On the floor.
Okay, yeah.
On the floor.
Right.
Like it's very mode of passion. Buy, sell.
Is there anything more motivation?
You know, so all these, if you stay in that long enough, your concept of reality starts to mold itself around that idea. Everything's transactional. I gotta get this. I gotta get that. If I don't get this, then I'm wasting my life. I'll say this. This is a client of mine who I'm trying to help him get. He wants to buy a charter bus so that he can take his clients out across the U.S. And he's having an extremely difficult time getting funding and all the other things that are necessary. And he's like, Keith, he's in a state of depression. I want to do this. I have people relying on me. And in his mind, the world was like crumbling down on him. Everything was just terrible. He was in anxiety. He was like, I'm literally crying at night because this thing in which I wanted seems to be so far away. And I took off my insurance agent hat. And I put on my Krishna Deva hat without bringing God into the things. So I told him, I said, you are, what position you're in right now, people would die to be in this position. Not because you have the desire to transport people around, but even think about like this. Some people don't even have limbs, and you can drive. Just that idea alone. You're not as bad as you think you are in. You have a CDL. It's very difficult to get. So you have stable intelligence. You have a network of people that are trying to help you. You may not have, you have even clients that are waiting for you to get this bus. But I told him, I said, you're actually in a wonderful position right now because you have time to develop, build, save money, develop a better state of consciousness, because if you rush into anything, the results are very volatile. It's very rare in which when we rush into something without thought, without intelligent discrimination, does it last? And to what quality does it last? So in the mode of passion, we just jump in head first. There's no real discrimination. It just feels good. And in the mode of goodness, it's like, wait, let me think pros and cons. You know what I mean? So I was trying to help him. I was trying to explain these things to him without coming from a religious standpoint or a spiritual standpoint. And he said, thank you. This helps, because sometimes we just need perspective. Because sometimes it's a lack of perspective which gives us anxiety or depression. Is the lack of, support. So anyway, before we wrap up, any last thoughts, objections?
On your last comment, isn't it your intuition is the first signal that it's divine, that it's God, that it speaks to you?
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, you say, in the mode of goodness, it's going to be logically think, and in my belief system and in my understanding, if to follow more of the intuitions. Is I'm not talking about impulses. However, I'm talking about this first initial thoughts, boom, which coming from divine. If you're talking about intuition, if you talk to be in tune with your spirit, that your spirit in tune with the God, then it's a divine communicating, because we have tendency then I'm becoming logical, then I'm talking about my mind. If I'm not my mind and I'm not my body, and this first instinct, shouldn't living on trusting the instinct then?
So I think this is a beautiful point. Thank you for bringing this up. How do you determine what is intuition versus conditioning?
Elaborate on that condition.
Meaning that through our life we develop an understanding, certain understanding.
Yes.
And our understanding is how we operate as what is best for us with how we think, right? So how do we know if this is not our upbringing, our association with
God, divine.
Yeah, how do we know what that voice is? How do we make differentiation? Because sometimes because sometimes I hear it often, like in church, God told me this. How do we know? You know what I mean? Like what is that thing which is said, which is this is by definition divine? You know what I mean? Because it's easy to say like we're spiritually thinking. Therefore, I'll give you an example for myself. And this is a vulnerability moment, right? So, okay. So in my previous marriage, I met at that time my partner at Kirtan 50. It was this big, really wonderful gathering, and so much synchronicity was happening, right? And externally, right? And I was thinking like, wow, she's the one, right? And I was thinking, oh wow, this is great. So we started dating, and there were red flags, and I was like, but no, God wouldn't have brought us together just for this to happen, right? These mean nothing, And I was thinking, of course, this is, then my conditioning, my upbringing, my lack of experience in therapy at that time, it was just like, just go for it, despite the obvious, discrepancies. I was not good for them, and vice versa. But I was thinking, because it was at a spiritual event, then it has to be divine, right? And I and it wasn't until I started taking therapy, I was like, oh man, like this is why I thought that, and I thought this was divine, but this actually wasn't divine. The experience itself was like, it was divine experience because I'm like,
For different reasons.
Right.
For you to go to the therapist.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have to really question our intuition, and is this intuition based on knowledge, like proven knowledge, or assumed, because I made a lot of mistakes. I made so many, thinking,
Or is it alignment, or is it nervous system activation?
Yeah.
Right. So in the mode of goodness, we we can intelligently discriminate between those things. So this is the only reason why
I love that. Intelligently discriminate.
yeah.
Hold on.
But it was a very beautiful question, and I thank you for that.
We just, first of all, it's arise on the surface, and I have been having a few conversations about my Indian trip, if you can call it a conversation, because it's like, what the heck? What are you doing? Like, do you have everything in place? Like, no, I don't. Like, and please don't talk to me. Don't ask me those questions. Or really, like, what? You don't even have the answers? No, I don't, because I feel calling and I feel like I'm being guided there. Like, and this is precisely, I'm speaking of this instinct, insight, and divinity movement, because none of that is actually matter.
Here's a clear, and you can see in your life how this, to test what I'm going to say. If it is truly for you, things will move in such a way where it's almost like automatic. And if it doesn't move that way and you're trying to force it, you're trying to twist it, then more than likely it's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes this level of endeavor is so
I feel it's more the trust of the process and just let it be. Like, and know it.
I mean,
I don't
yeah.
have to have the answers.
I mean, yeah, ultimately, everything is meant for our well-being.
Yes.
Ultimately. However, there are things that, I remember Jim Rohn was one of my favorite, like, kind of motivational speakers. He said,
Who was it?
Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn, yeah, okay.
He said there's certain things you just shouldn't put much time into, right? Meaning that there may be some things that sound good, but it's best not to waste that energy, especially if you can't somewhat guarantee like this is actually going to be most ideal for you right now. And I'll bring Max into this. So Max helping me not be so impulsive in business. Sometimes, I made a couple purchases. Didn't really consult him. That was my fault. I was like, but I know I needed it. But the thing is, we should, whatever we're doing, whatever energy we spend on something, it doesn't matter what it is. Whatever energy we spend on that thing, we should always be mindful of, am I doing this out of anxiety? Am I doing this out of depression? Am I doing this out of, like, what is our state of thought when we're doing that thing? And if we're trying to be more spiritual, then we should understand, I'm doing the best I can, let me give it to God.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I know we went quite a bit over, but it was very, very beautiful.
Thank you very much.
So,
yes, don't call me when I'm going to be in India. Don't call me. They told me 50 cents a minute. I can text.
WhatsApp.
yeah, WhatsApp. Yeah.
WhatsApp is free.
So, Srimad Bhagavad